Now, early this year, Aliso brought to Australia the Mini Project Iron. Now, if you are an avid crafter like me, you have been waiting for this forever. So today I'd like to invite you inside the Arabesque studio and I'm going to take you through all the features of these gorgeous little irons. Now, in full disclosure, I am not being paid for this review. I have paid for these irons and all these opinions are my own. So why would you need a small iron for your projects? Well, if you are a sewist like me who makes a lot of small functional projects and you just don't have a need for a full-sized iron a lot of the time. So the small sole plate on this makes it great for getting into tight spaces, being able to press those seams where you need to not crush other seams that you've got in the way. I also find this is actually really ergonomical and I get less hand fatigue when I'm using this than I would if I'm pushing my large iron around. And these new irons come in a beautiful range of 3 sorbet colours, so you can choose whatever you need to fit your sewing space. So Aliso have completely redesigned this model and they've worked at fixing some of the issues that the first model had. So the first thing you'll see here is we have an Australian plug, which makes it very useful because I had an American version and I had to use a plug converter. Now, the original Aliso did completely overheat and that was a real issue. You almost couldn't pick the whole thing up sometimes. So let's talk about some of the features you'll find on this iron. So it has a ceramic sole plate, which makes it glide beautifully over fabric and also makes it very easy to clean. Now, you can use this iron dry or with steam, and the steam reservoir in the back is very easy to fill. One thing that I do think is lacking is you don't get a beaker that comes to fill it with. So I think this should be standard when you're buying an iron, both for ease of filling and also the amount that you can fit in there. It does use tap water, so that's really good. You can just fill it straight out of the tap. So after a bit of experimentation, I've discovered you can fit about 2 tablespoons or about 40 mils of water inside, which doesn't give you a great length of time before it's used up, but that's the trade-off for using a small iron. The good part is you get a lot of steam, so it's very effective. So what I find is really cool about this is these buttons on the side activate the steam, and when you press the left one, you get steam from the front of the iron. When you press the right one, you get steam from the back of the iron, and when you press them both together, you get steam from the whole sole plate. I have to say, for a small iron, it gives a really great amount. Now, a really great thing they've included in this model is an on and off button on the top of the iron. And I think this is just a great feature to include because it means you don't have to be reaching down to your plug outlet all the time when you need to switch it off. And this is just a great reminder for me to switch it off when I don't need it anymore. Now, there are a range of lights on this iron that are really helpful. So the standby light goes from red to green when you turn it on. When you adjust the temperature control, it will pulse as it's coming up to temperature. And when you switch it onto the cotton setting, it will pulse as the steam is heating up. And it will stay on when it's ready to use. And a really fun feature is this miniature headlight, which illuminates the project in front of you in case you're ironing in the dark. Now, a really great feature that Aliso have redesigned for this iron is you don't have to keep it horizontal on the trivet all the time now when you're not using it. You can now stand it up on its heel, and this is the way I have always used an iron, so it's very intuitive for me, and I absolutely love the fact that you can do this now. So the design change has meant that they've made the cord come out of the right hand side. So for me, I'm left-handed, so occasionally this gets a little bit in the way for me, but that's the breaks of being a left-hander in a right-handed world. So you can still store this by snapping the trivet back onto the base and wrapping the cord around, and it's a really great way of storing it. You can hang it up, and I love to hang these on my pegboard. They look very cool together. So another new feature for this iron is the auto switch off feature. And what I love about this is that most full-size irons switch off after an absurdly short amount of time. So if you are someone who goes and sews for 10 minutes and you come back and you want to press, you have to stand there and wait for it to heat up and you're wasting all that time. Well, the people at Eliso thought of this, and so this has a 10-minute switch off feature for when it's horizontal on its trivet, and it has a 30-minute switch off feature for when it's standing up on its heel. So this is exactly the sort of time frame that I'm looking for, and if I'm going to be off any longer than that, I can switch it off here at the top. So what's my final opinion on the Mini Eliso? Well, these are just coming onto the Australian market, and they are quite a chunk of change if you are wanting to invest in one. So if you are just a casual crafter, there are small irons that work pretty well that probably would do the trick for you. But if you are someone who does like to invest in quality tools, I do recommend getting one of these because they are beautifully hot and the new features make them very nice to use. So if I've missed anything that you'd like to learn about, leave me a comment below and I will try and get back to you.